Reading from Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛta, Book 2, Chapter 2, Text 56. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Śrī Gopa-kumāra uvāca tad chrutvācintayaṁ brahman vaiśyatve syāt sukhaṁ mahat prabhor eṣāṁ te viprāṇāṁ tad-bhaktānām upāsanāt. Śrī Gopa-kumāra said, "Hearing this, O Brahman, I thought I would be much happier staying a vaiśya, for then I could keep worshiping both the Supreme Lord and those brahmans, his devotees." Purport: Gopa-kumāra thought, if I become a brahman, I will lose the fortune of being a simple servant. Then I will be unable to humbly assist the Brahmin sages. But if I stay a vaisya, to my heart's content, I can keep serving these Vaishnavas and their worshipable Yag-geshwara. Om Jnana Timirandasya Garanjana Shalakaya Chaksurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Śrī Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Mano Bhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Sa Padantikam Vanchakalpa Turubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasade Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, greetings from St. Petersburg. This is my class. I've been doing this for 12 years, some people, even more. And there's one lady here that's listened to every class. 20 years. Yeah. Maybe a few people. So I'm telling them I have an audience today. So I got to make everything one. But greetings from St. Petersburg. And I have to say, the most beautiful city in the world. These beautiful, like 30, 40 meter wide canals, right? And these beautiful buildings, so that you have a building, you're not just facing, in New York, you pay for the airspace. Mm-hmm. If you buy an apartment building, you also have to pay for the airspace. That's important, so you have some, no one can build next to you. So a lot of airspace and the most beautiful churches. I marvel. I'm taking a walk every day and I see that church. I don't know, that beautiful church. It's that architecture is, today I went to the largest museum in the world. 3 million pieces of art. And I went to the Rembrandt room and I got a quick glance at one of the most prominent pictures. So it's been really nice. Yeah, and I think I have an affinity for the place also because my grandparents were from St. Petersburg, so maybe there's some natural connection here. But I'm a sannyasi, but I get attached to anything wherever I am. So, And the programs have been wonderful. And a Chutatma, who's the GBC, he said because the programs are, I'm not doing like public, they have to select which people come, but there's still 50 people there. So he said this was a unique opportunity, because if you opened up to everybody, I couldn't speak on the subject matters I was speaking on, which was relatively high subject matters that you wouldn't give to a public crowd. So I thought it just shows you how everything's Krishna's mercy. So it kind of works for your advantage. What apparently is a disadvantage, right? It works to advantage because you could. So we'll get here to this Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛta. And one of the things I did, I'm speaking to both groups, and I think, is I kind of gave a summary of, okay, I have to do this myself because you think, I gave kind of a summary of the Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛta. Kind of a brief. You can give a summary on many, many levels, but I kind of gave a summary. And of course, what makes any book, anything, any artistic, literary work, the foundation of it is a theme. It's the one point that connects everything else, even though apparently unconnected. And that's what makes a class dynamic, if it has actually like a theme. And just like even that, there's a theme of the material world. What's the theme of the material world? There's so many things that happen in the material world. There's wars, there's, beauty, there's so many things. But what's the theme? The theme is liberation. Everything is moving towards liberation. It's moving to get you out of the world. Whether you're enjoying here, whether you're suffering here, it's all meant to move you in that way. And I gave a seminar on gratitude, where it should be a state of being, and one of the state of beings is to actually firmly realize that, right? Because if you firmly realize that, you see mercy and kindness in every event. And it lowers it wires your head for a lower threshold of happiness. If your faith and goal is to enjoy and control the world, it's so hard to get that level of satisfaction in your consciousness. Because you get the jet, you get your own jet, you want a bigger jet, it never stops until you're very top. But if your goal is the flourishing of your consciousness in kindness and mercy, then it's a very low threshold, because it's every circumstance. And I mean, the classic example is Maharaj Bṛhad. He's cursed to die. What can be worse than that? Because what a sadhu in Vrindavan told me, that the pain of death is not the physical pain, because you could always take drugs and kill the pain or something like that, or you'll go into coma. He said it's losing your attachments. And what death means is losing everything. That's the real pain of death. I'm losing everything, my identity, my things, my career, everything. Even the particular identity, the upāti that you worked your whole life to construct is finished. But what did Maharaj Bṛhad say in that mood of realization, understanding that whatever comes to us is for us, and that's how the world works? He said, sadhu mene, I think this is good. It'll detach me from the world. I think it's good. I'll be free from the sinful reaction of what I did with insulted the brahman. I'll make sure the mistakes I make don't go to my family. So, sadhu mene. Okay, we're gonna somehow, I'll enter into that level of unconscious competence. My idea for speaking is somehow you're going to have to get into a level of unconscious competence. The worst thing for a lecture is if you have to read from notes. You never achieve that. So it's a little bit after lunch. I walked around a museum. Let's see if I can get back into it. So let's go, let's the Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛta. Okay, right. I got it. I'm back. A theme. So what I tried to do is take the theme and show how brilliantly that theme is given. And even discussing, because I discussed it in the Maharaj, Niranjan Maharaj, he made another point, who even emphasized more how brilliant this theme is. The theme is really, practically speaking, if you have to say the theme, it's Gopi Bhav. Practically speaking, because it says at the beginning, Parama Dasha Antim, the Parama stage, the end of the top stage. Lord Chaitanya, Unatoj Vala Rasam Swabhakti Swayam Samarpyatum, he's giving that. So he has to give it. And what we were marveling, we're in the second section now. We went through the first section, and you've all been with me, and I explained it to this group here that's here today, is that he brilliantly weaves this story of Narada Muni searching for the topmost recipient of Krishna's mercy, which gives you a thorough education of what is bhakti. It gives you a thorough feel of what is bhakti. And then he enters into Dwarka with Uddhava. And I explained a little bit, and I explained this to you, how everything was highlighting in such an interesting way. The fact in this incredible story that Uddhava, he goes to Uddhava as the topmost recipient of Krishna's mercy. And Uddhava says, I went there and I met the gopis. My conception of devotion, that I was some big devotee, was crushed to dust when I saw their level of their devotion. And I made the point yesterday how brilliant it is to highlight this theme. And just one of the many ways this theme is, and it's not just, highlighting this theme is not just an intellectual artistic stimulation, it's philosophy, it's truth, it has that passion that this is the benediction that I want you to get. It has kind of more skin on the bone, do they say? I don't know, more urgency, more importance, right? It's Lord Chaitanya telling him to spread this to the world. Let's say you accept it as true or not, but at least in the mind of the author, how urgent this is to actually present this in different ways. And so he goes to Uddhava, and Uddhava says this. And what significance that Uddhava says this? And I explained about Uddhava that there's a verse, I interpret it this way, but it gives 4 qualities of his. Top emotional intelligence, top devotional intelligence, top shastric intelligence, top jnanic intelligence. This person who's parishad, who's the topmost devotee of Krishna as you step outside of Vrindavan, he goes and he comes back. So how does that really hit this theme? The topmost recipient, the theme of giving this bhakti and convincing us of this bhakti. How does, and then the arguments, someone objects to Uddhava, And so how can they? Because they're suffering so much, and describes their suffering. But what are they suffering for? Separation from Krishna. This also shows these are the top most recipients, that this is the highest bhakti these people have. And the argument going back and forth, Rukmini and Satyabhama, no, we're lying in bed at night, and our husband is with this threefold bending form, calling out these names of these girls. And Satyabhama, why in the night, during the day? And it will explain it goes in Krishna himself and separate, and then ending up with Krishna himself angry with Satyabhama, and telling him, telling her, you want to know why they're the most top recipients of Krishna. And then Krishna himself begins to explain their glories. So that first book establishes in so many brilliant ways, this is what I was lecturing on, in so many brilliant ways, that this is the topmost thing. But it doesn't end, because the story, as we all know, is being told by Maharaj Parikshit at the end of his life to Uttara. And Uttara just hears this. Narada's journey for the topmost recipient of Krishna's mercy, and she hears this so clearly, but she says, but no, I have to know about the place. I have to know about the place. So I thought this is interesting also. If you look in Sanatana Goswami's mind, what he's writing, he's thinking that, again, I want to give this Gopi Bhav, but I want people to understand it, and I want people to feel it, so they don't misunderstand it and don't have the wrong feelings about it. In other words, again, as important as speaking the truth is having the truth understood. So it's so amazing that the book should have been finished right then, but you can look at the author who has this mission to make sure we don't misunderstand something, and it continues. So that's amazing in itself, and it continues with Uttara's questions. I want to know about the place. And then Maharaj Parikshit tells this story. And he tells the story about this brahman that gets this mantra in a dream. And he doesn't exactly know, but somehow there's this transcendental system. And I think this is an important theme of the book, is what happens to us is for us. So God has this objective of the world and of us to give us liberation, to bring us back to Godhead, and every destiny is working like that. And he's working personally. It's working with the people we meet. It's working with the things that happen to us. And so this Brahmin, somehow or other, he has a particular path. He has a particular destiny that's designed for him. I even have a conception that everybody's karma is perfect. That almost everybody's karma is if you can respond perfectly to your karma in this life, perfectly every instant, I think that's back to Godhead. Everybody has a different path, but it's all perfect. It's all, this is the experience you need in this life to perfect yourself. And it may take many, many lives to perfect yourself. So what's happening to this Brahmin, and is he begins to search. Make a long story short, he winds up in Vrindavan, and he meets this cowherd boy who somehow, from a higher realm, is part of his destiny. We find that he's part of his destiny. And he looks at him and he said, my story is exactly similar to yours. And generally a person doesn't speak about himself unless the story can be beneficial. And I told them today, because I had such a good time here, I'm going to do what I generally don't do. I'm going to tell you my kidnap story. You like to hear that? I'll tell it to my audience here. After, you don't get to hear it, you've heard it many times. So anyway, this Gopa-kumāra tells his story, and the same thing happens to him. He gets this mantra, and what happened to this Brahman in a dream that he gets this mantra, he's just a cowherd boy, and there's a beautiful Brahman they see walking on the bank of the Jamuna, and somehow he does some service for him, and the Brahman calls him back and initiates him and gives him this same mantra. And then the Brahmin leaves in ecstasy. He never sees his guru. His guru disappears. So he just has this mantra, and his guru said, this mantra will lead you to the Lord of the universe. So he begins that search. And now we're up the part of the search where he's at this place, Mahaloka. And I'm going to just say one thing that Dhanurdhara Swami, when we discussed today, that was so interesting in terms of this theme. So again, the challenge of Sanatana Goswami is to give the highest conception to people with hardly any frame of reference to understand it, right? And he's got to make sure in his education in this book, or whatever channeled, that by reading this book, you'll understand what bhakti is, and you'll have a feel for bhakti, so that when you get to, you're tired, that when you get to that topmost subject, when that truth is spoken, you'll hear it as the truth. And I also made it a point, and I wrote an article about perception, that perception is based on the sensual perception and the mind being attentive with the proper understanding and the proper attitude. And that's what education is for. So that you can actually, when you hear the truth, you'll understand the truth. So this is, he winds up on this place, Mahaloka, and there's great sages on this Mahaloka, and they're completely pure, they're free from envy, they're free from lust, and they worship Yogeshwar, the Lord of Sacrifice, and in every hermitage place, the Lord of Sacrifice appears, and he's completely, he's kind of satisfied in one sense, but not completely satisfied. And the other theme that goes here before I discuss today's verse is the reason why it's important to understand the place, because Acharya, you're a little bit fatigued today. What? Yeah. I need rasa. I need the whole audience. So we gotta, especially I'm trying to negotiate two audiences, so I have to get this together. So really try.
I'm following.
What?
I'm following.
Following asleep. What was my last point?
Yeah.
Okay. Mahaloka, but
sacrifices.
What?
Sacrifices, but not completely satisfied.
Oh yeah. Trying to understand this point that how important the place is to understand the person. Because a person can only manifest himself according to the place. Because places make demands on personality. So if you want to understand Radharani, you want to understand the devotees, you have to understand the place. And I came up with a simple analogy to help one understand this, which I think it would be something like this, that a child is missing his father, and his father's in the high court. And the child goes into the high court, right? And his father sees him, and he's the high court judge, so he opens his heart to his son. And then the son becomes satisfied. But because of the demands of that particular place, the father can't manifest that aspect of his personality to satisfy the child all the time. So the child can actually be satisfied, but then he's going to be dissatisfied because there's other people in the court that demand that the father cover his intimate side. So that's what happens to Gopa-kumāra. Each place that he goes to, somehow or other, he's kind of becomes dissatisfied, because even though he's with the Lord in different manifestations, God can't really manifest that aspect of himself that one has a relationship with. Let's say there's a lady has a romantic feelings, and she goes to the high court and the judge is there. He can't be her lover. So she's not satisfied even though she's with that person, her lover. So what happens here, he becomes dissatisfied because of the environment and the people, the demands of the environment and people on the person whom he has a relationship. Ultimately, he's actually a cowherd boy. So it's a friendship, and that's ultimately what's going to satisfy him. He doesn't yet have knowledge, so he's not really sure. Love goes a long way, but there also has to be some understanding. Otherwise, you don't go quickly. That's what happens to Gopa-kumāra. He has a feeling, but not an understanding. The feeling is carrying him really strongly, because he's hankering for Braj, he's hankering for Vrindavan. But then he sees his Lord, and even the Lord responds a little bit, and he becomes satisfied. But the Lord can't stay in that position of intimacy with him when he's in heaven, or when he's in Mahalok, when the sages are chanting mantras, when he's the Lord of sacrifice. So I'll just read something very, very interesting. This is Shivaram Swami sent this to Narendran Swami. And it's some commentary on Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada's commentary. And it's kind of mind-blowing, because it's the Bhagavad Gita. And this is what Prabhupada said: just like Kunti Devi is not inhabitant of Vrindavan, she's inhabitant of Hastinapur, outside of Vrindavan. The outside devotees, the devotees are outside of Vrindavan, they are studying the inhabitants of Vrindavan, how great they are. But the inhabitants of Vrindavan, they don't care to know how great is Krishna. That is the difference. So our business is simply to love Krishna. The more you love Krishna, the more you become perfect. It is not that It is not that it is necessary to understand Krishna, how he is created. The things are mentioned here. Krishna is explaining himself in Bhagavad Gita so much. Don't bother very much to know Krishna. That is not possible. Simply increase your unalloyed love for Krishna. That is the perfection of life. Simply that love carries you so far. And this is what Gopa-kumāra shows. It shows that this love is carrying him to his destination. But because he doesn't have the right understanding, he makes mistakes. And then he's not satisfied in a particular place. But it's always carrying him. And this is in the technical sense, not just the formal sense, but in the technical sense, what initiation ultimately should mean. It says Bhagavat Sarup Gyan, Sambandha Visesh Gyan, that's Divya Gyan, divine consciousness, there's a form of Krishna which we're connected to. And there's a relationship we have with Krishna. And if we sincerely move forward in Krishna consciousness, it kind of moves us. But if you don't have the proper understanding, it's a kind of a trial and error process, rather than moving quickly and understanding that this is the way I should move. Anyway, so what happens to Gopa-kumāra is somehow or other, now I'm going to get into the class. There's something about him that's so simple and pure that wherever he goes, even though he's not educated, even as a vaiśya, it says, he's not very educated. He's simple and pure. And two things happen. People become attracted to him. But again, God has this plan for him, and God's in everyone's heart, and he somehow inspires, wherever he goes, some situation where they put him in charge. He becomes the king of one kingdom. Then the next place, Jagannath Puri, he becomes the king. So every place, he has this position, but he's so simple, he never changes that simple devotional nature. It's so powerful, a simple devotional nature. I always think of this one god brother of mine. It shows you that bhakti is independent of karma and gyan. And the example I always think is in the Boston temple. I had one god brother that just went, he can't exist without lithium, which is the heaviest drug. And one time he didn't take it, and he stole the deities off the altar. He stole one of the deities off the altar, he took it. But this devotee, so he doesn't have karma sukriti. He can't get up before 4 p.m. Never. And he lives in some government housing. But he came to the temple every single day, starting at 4:30, and for 5 hours cleaned every nook and cranny of that temple with such intensity, sometimes disappointment. I didn't really get that. So bhakti is independent of karma and gyan. And somehow or other, it's attractive, and it's attractive to Krishna. There's that simplicity. So he's very. Now this is beautiful. Now I'm finally feeling I'm entering here. It took some time. Now I feel it's so beautiful here that they ask him to be a brahman. We'll initiate you. We'll give you an exalted. And he refuses. And why does he refuse? Because if I'd rather have the status that gives me more opportunity to serve. A lot of times, the higher your status, if you're not careful, the less opportunity you have for service. And I told this story many times, that when someone asked me for initiation and I wasn't sure I'd do it, and I went to this famous, renowned sadhu, and I asked him, and he ordered me to do it, and then he said, not me, but Prabhupada through me, and then he said, but don't think you're guru, do it as a service to your guru. So it's not that you have a high position, you can't be in the mood of service. In fact, if one's a guru, again, he shouldn't be looking down. That shouldn't be his conception. He should be looking up, right? Like Dhanurdhara Swami was talking to me about your Guru Maharaj, and I couldn't believe it. He said he only traveled economy class. He would never travel business class. I was like, what? I mean, he had followers, he had 17 temples in Delhi, he had just service. So it's never, he's looking, I am a servant of my guru, that's his consciousness, and the service may be to take a position of authority. But that attitude of a Vaishnava, that he doesn't want to be the center, he wants to be the servant of the center, and he has that faith. That's the experience. That's his goal. And that's not the experience of this world. That's not the goal. The faith of this world is not that service and love is the highest thing. It's antithetical to having a body. But as people advance and evolve, and people that we actually admire, that's what we see. They want to be a servant. And I told that story of Prabhupada. Tamal Krishna Maharaj told him, Prabhupada, you should be the king of the world. Prabhupada said, you manage, I'll advise. And one time when Prabhupada called Prabhupada the greatest, and Prabhupada said, no, I'm just a servant. That's the consciousness. So Gopa-kumāra here, it's such a beautiful thing. He doesn't want to be a Brahman because he thinks then, no, I love serving the Brahmins. I love serving the Brahmins. I love serving the Vaishnavas. I'm serving the Brahmins. I don't want a position. I remember when the story when Kirtanananda wanted to give Radhanath Swami sannyas. I think he tried to hide or tried to leave. Where generally people, now I got the stick. I got this, the point of authority. I have more control. But Vaishnava acts the opposite way. I talk every time I went to see that famous Saint Ramesh Baba. Every time I saw him, and one time he's eating soup, one time he's shaving. No matter what, how can I serve you? How can I serve you? The Vaishnav mood. So Gopa-kumāra, he thinks, and then this was the verse that I was with Dhanurdhara Swami that we didn't really get further. We didn't get further with this, and he gave that analogy, as analogy that was given by Bhakti Rakshaka Sridhar Maharaj, that closeness to Krishna and Guru, you're closer when you see the other people that are serving Krishna and Guru. You're closer. And he gave the example. You're closest to Mount Everest when you see the trees and you see the people, you see the village, to the Himalayan mountains. When you're far away, you just see it as one thing. When you're close, you see it with the variety. So when you're actually close to Krishna, when you're actually close to Guru, then you see the people that are serving. And this is, he said, this is what it's not, he's going further away, he's coming closer. Just like the concept of Guru it's not that there's someone standing in between you and Krishna or standing between you and Prabhupada. But no, you have eyes, and when you put glasses on and your vision is defective, then you're seeing the object more. So in our tradition, and this exemplifies so much, this dasa dasa anudasa, this mood of humble service, you actually become closer. You see God closer. You become closer. Guru, you see them closer. So Gopa-kumāra, I'm just saying, throughout this story, you'll see so many different themes. And one is this Gopa-kumāra, his qualities. Took me a while to get going today, but we'll go another 15 minutes. It's eṣāṁ yajnaika nishthanam aikyena vāśyake nijay jape chasad guru dishte mandyam shadrista satphalam. For these Brahmins, I thought, performing sacrifice is the only interest in life. But if I were to become one of them, surely I would become lax in the chanting I'm duty-bound to continue. My divine guru taught me to worship this mantra, and besides, I've already seen its good results. So he's thinking, okay, now I've become a Brahmin, and they have different rituals. But my guru gave me this mantra. So you see also, he's very humble, and he has faith, simple faith. And the faith is not blind, because why? He's already seen sat phale, he's seen the results. Our faith is not blind, it's based on our experience. I always quote that Christian apologist that trust is faith by experience. So he had experience. He's chanting his mantra and he's seen some results. But even besides that it's his faith in Guru, because he had that relationship and he's followed him in his simple way, not even with understanding, and he's seen some results. So he doesn't want to be a Brahmin because he thinks that it's better to serve a Brahmin than be the Brahmins. And he doesn't want he'd have to accept their rituals, although it's so attractive and they're so blissful and they're free from pride, they're free from envy. He doesn't want that either, because he has his own path and that chastity, not blindly. He's getting some results. Tatas tan anumayaham ananga kritya vipratam tatavasam svato jata pajapatya mahasukha. Therefore, while showing respect to the sages, I declined the status of a Brahmin, but I stayed on Mahaloka, enjoying the exalted pleasures that automatically appear in the world of the Prajapatis. So when I read this verse, what I thought? It's like me here in St. Petersburg. I'll tell the audience here, I went to the ballet. This is the ballet capital of the world, practically, Russia and St. Petersburg. And I went, and as a completely non-fun, dry renunciate, I had no interest in going to the ballet. And even my vision of it, okay, I'll go. And I had no choice, because the tickets were already bought. I didn't even know the tickets were going to be bought. And okay, the tickets were bought, so okay, here it goes. Okay, Bozo goes to the ballet, so here I go to the ballet. So okay, I put on my Monday morning greetings lens. I'm going to write about this, so let me see. And I get the seats in the front row, right off. The conductor's head is like 3 feet from me, and I'm looking into the thing. And I'm watching a ballet. I don't understand what's going on, right? At the end of the ballet, there was 4 curtain calls, and I'm not my dhoti, by the way. I got my baseball cap on. And I'm like clapping with Jagadish, who's even less likely to be there for me. That was even a harder one. And I really enjoyed the ballet. It was amazing. It really was fantastic. Now I have this other attachment. And the orchestra, Tchaikovsky, what's how do you pronounce it?
Tchaikovsky.
What?
Tchaikovsky.
Tchaikovsky, the instruments, and watching. And then the next day, because I was curious, the person who made this incredible pasta with spinach, peanut, cashew sauce, she was a conductor. So after Prasad, you see how to be related to this verse. So after the Prasad, she showed me the hand missions. This conductor, it's like all the hand movement. I was watching this. I was getting really. So what I thought is, this is great. He automatically appeared in the world. Exalted pleasures automatically appeared. So I thought it was great. I didn't say, I want to go to the ballet. Next year I will. But I don't want to go to the ballet. Take me to the ballet. But automatically the pleasures came. So I enjoyed without any motive. So I guess that's what's happened in the spiritual world. It's not connected to your own motive, right? Or Mahaloka, it's not connected to your own motive. But the pleasures are still there. Anyway, but I thought of this. And then today I went to this museum. I told you 3 million pieces of art. And I was looking at these places. And the first thing I thought about the ballet, it was Swan Lake. And now afterwards I read what that meant. What I saw about the ballet, what was interesting is, okay, unless I know this, how am I going to understand the rasa dance? How can I understand Krishna's Natabara? He's the most excellent of dancers. Now I have a vision what the most excellent of and because in the Swan Lake, everyone was, there's so many ladies dancing. It definitely wouldn't be a place for an Indian sannyasi. Okay, so I saw all these, they were dancing, and and I just thought, yeah, now I know, the dancing of Radharani, the dancing of Krishna, and there's even a argument for the existence of God that one great American conductor, the greatest American conductor was called Leonard Bernstein. And he says, when you know classical music, there's something so right, so perfect, that it can only come from a logos. Logos means the word, but the word, it means that there's an order in the universe that you can't explain. It's not whimsical. There's a way that things are done, and they conform to a higher standard. And that higher standard can only be God. It can't be chance. There's also something like that. When you see perfection in something, Krishna says, I am the ability in men. It points that there's a standard of that. It's not just evolutionary, it's great. It's a standard of greatness. Anyway, I'll joke, but who knew that I would become such a fan of the ballet? Now, the pressure's on them. Next year, I got to give them advance notice to see. Which Jagadish was less likely than me to be there. I ain't going to this. Yeah. But he also was. And then the other thing I understood is actually rasa. Because what the theory of rasa is, is when a genre of theater, music, literature, when a genre really knows the science, what they do, and this is rasa theory, is they take an emotion and they can recreate the emotion so the audience can feel the same thing. This is, and there's many requirements for this. One of the requirements is that the audience is qualified and therefore can experience the same thing. Thank God that Jagadish and myself didn't ruin it. But at the end, this is catharsis. This is Abhinav Gupta. He was one of the famous aestheticians in India. He just said when that unity is there, people transcend this limited concept of I. He was an impersonalist. But our view is it doesn't have to transcend just a limited concept of I, that I am the center. And that's the relief of the soul temporarily. And therefore, and even going through this museum today, I mean, we went to we're an hour and a half with a guide, we had 10%. And she was trying to show us the good stuff or the best stuff. And I also understood, and this is something that Prabhupada said, that the defect of wealthy people is when they don't share the experiences that they can have artistically with others. So what this means, you don't just build a compound in the country and put up walls just for yourself. You have to make national parks. You have to make big temples. You have to make cathedrals. You have to make these things. So everybody in society, and again, when it's done according to order, Prabhupada said, it helps develop the finer sentiments in the mind. It elevates the society. And I can see this. I mean, there's one church here in St. Petersburg. Every day I take a walk and I see that church. And then the other conception I had when I walked through that palace and went to the church and the palace and see the way they did things and the art and the building that they build and the gardens and everything, is that things are not advancing. What an illusion that things are advancing. Things are getting degraded. We get a few little gadgets that can dumb our minds. I remember when coming back from India the first time, and I never saw a supermarket that you can just take the item and put it on the counter and it registers. Because when I grew up, Maya, the grocer, he had a paper bag and a pencil, and he would write the things down and he would add it up. Then there was a cash register. Okay, it was a little bit more than but when I first came back from India, after being in India for 3 years, in 1979, I came back, and my parents took me out to buy me some goodies, because at that time, there was nothing in India. Now people say, can I bring you something? Why? We have Amazon.com right in Govardhan. You can order anything you want in Govardhan. They'll deliver it right to your door. I mean, it's what bring me from the West, what? Right? Sometimes they bring me these Russian candies, these prunes and apricots with chocolate. Some places have different things that you can get. But so it registered on the cash register, and I looked at the lady and said, things have advanced so much. Then my cloistered brahmachari consciousness came full to the force. This is not our philosophy. And I said, so I had to save myself from that big aparad, that things have advanced so much. And Krishna empowered me, and I said, but the quality of life hasn't improved. And the lady said, yes. So I can't say, you show me, they built one building here that's out of stone, 200-room apartment. It's probably the most beautiful apartment building you could ever see, but it's rare. So enjoying the exalted automatically, right? Maha, sukha, with varieties, that's swata, they're born, self-born. So here, I selflessly enjoyed the opera, the ballet. It was amazing. Where was I? My whole life I've been deprived. Just see how I'm complete Maya now. I'm in complete Maya now. All I want to do is, Hari Kesh tells the story. He's sitting next to Prabhupada on the plane, and he can't resist putting on the films. He puts on Charlie Chaplin, and he's watching it. And then Prabhupada looks over him and says, it's Maya. And then after a minute, Prabhupada said, good Maya. So I have to analyze. I'm a philosopher in society, but that's the other thing. I noticed that the audience experienced the same thing. It was so powerful and forced upon you. So it created a unity in the audience. And at the end, and then I've never been, what am I? I joke, but no one understands what my joke is. If I wrote an article about Bozo goes to the ballet, my first line would say, my culture when I grew up was Bruno Sammartino and Gorilla Monsoon. Okay, no one understands this. But I looked up at the theater, it's like 4 or 5 stories, and there's all boxes around. So people, it's very intimate. It's very intimate, and everybody's standing up and clapping, right? So it's a unity also. So it creates some kind of catharsis, it's a little bit of an elevating consciousness for people. They're a little bit more elevated when they walk out of that than when they come in. So here I am preaching material enjoyment. It came automatically. I'm pure. I didn't try for it. It came to me. Okay, I'm wild today. It was kind of a long week. So, Jumunajaya, we'll finish. Any point that you liked here? Oh, she probably had to go too. Oh, she's gone. She's already doing her yoga. Gail, you get one question.
Hi, Krishna Maharaj. Oh my God, one question when I have so many today. But anyway, the one I'll choose is, if you could expand on the fact that we see Guru or Krishna by the devotees or those who are close to that person that are around him. How is it that, because I know you're not talking about just physical perception. So what does that actually, how do we practically understand that?
I mean, dasa. The practical example I gave is glasses are between you and an object and bring you closer.
Yeah, so
when you're serving and serving and serving, your vision and reciprocation and intimacy becomes closer and closer. And therefore, the manifestation is not just a physical distance, it's an intimacy, and you feel it.
By being with those who are close to the person that you're trying to love.
I'm just, this concept of dasa, I'm the servant of the servant of the servant of the servant, right? Servant of the servant of the servant. It's not bringing you further away, it's bringing you closer. Because again, here's the point, Gail. We're separated by God, not by a physical distance, but by our consciousness.
Mhm.
So as the consciousness becomes more selfless, more serving,
Mhm.
you're closer.
Mhm.
I'm closer. And even the whole concept of Krishna, we discussed this, leaving Vrindavan,
Mhm.
right? It appears that they're distant, but they actually become closer.
Mhm.
Because but their faith and their love increases, and therefore that's the connection to God. God is not restricted by a spatio-temporal laws,
Mhm. Mhm.
right? He's everywhere. Where there is no circumference, the center is everywhere.
Yeah, so it's a mood that makes a person's mood
You're
that
putting God under material laws. You can't put God under material laws.
right. That's what I'm saying. It's the mood that a person has towards.
Yes, it's the mood. Yes. Okay. All right, let me look at the list because I kind of went over time today. It took me a little time to get going. Um, okay. Anyone quickly want to say hello?
Hare Krishna Gurudev.
Jai Shri Radhe, Haribo.
Looking forward to seeing you very soon.
We will see you very soon. Okay?
Thank you.
But when you're coming, we're completely busy with programs. You can't even believe it. But you better make the soup I want.
I
It's
will
my
try my
order.
best.
What?
I will try my best.
And plenty of sour cream.
That's easy.
And I want your son to see that I've made up for my great offense to his mother. Okay. Anybody else like to say hello quickly? And then we'll go.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, this is Hemalata Radha.
Hey, Haribo.
So nice to see you, Maharaj.
I didn't answer your letter. I'll do that soon, okay?
Yes, Maharaj, thank you so much.
Okay, Haribo. Okay, we'll head out now. Okay, Vanchakalpa Turvya Shaka Prasiddhi Devi Chapita.